Hello, friends. Welcome to Squaird Plans, where creative planning and organization comes to life. I'm Stephanie, and today we're going to be designing my faith planner for the month of February. We'll be setting up all of my monthly and weekly pages in my classic Happy Planner. So come plan with me. And I've got these washi tapes here all ready to go, along with these brush tip markers I'll be using, this pack of die-cut ephemera, this other pack of die-cut washi stickers, this Happy Planner sticker book, and this Live Love Posh sticker book, which I'll pull from. Okay, let's go ahead and lay down some wax paper and get started on the design for the weeklies. I am going to mock up all 5 weeks here on this one sheet of wax paper, mainly because I only use the top left box for decor in my weeklies for my faith to give me ample room to do my daily lettering practice. So I plan to use these outline florals from Live Love Posh for the base decor, and then I'm bringing in some quotes here from the Happy Planner Peace from Within, I think is the name of this faith sticker book, so that I can have some faith quotes in there mixed in with the florals. I was originally thinking I only had 4 weeks to design, but turns out I have 5 weeks to design, so my initial count of quotes was only 4. I did find one other quote that I think is at least similar in size and design, so I'm going to bring that one in, but it's not quite the same as the other 4, so we'll have to do something a little bit different on that week. I also brought in some papers from that ephemera box set that I had. It has a mix of different die-cut stickers and some overlay frames and things like that to add in, including this sheet of scrappy vintage paper to use. So I'm going to try to bring that in somehow. I've already did a little sample that I put together there in the top left. And now I think I'm just going to focus real quick on building out these clusters. I'm looking at the florals that I have there, and I know a few of these will have to be custom clusters that I make out of the individual florals, so just went ahead and started on that. I think I've got one that's a pretty good cluster to lay in here, and I'll figure out where I want that cluster to go. I'm trying to add a little bit of each of these elements into each cluster. So this is something I do pretty regularly here in my faith planner. Because I'm theming the entire month in the same theme, I just want to make sure I have enough stickers to carry that theme through all the way for the entire month's pages, including the weeklies. Sometimes I only theme out the monthly pages at the same time, but for my faith, I just go ahead and set up the entire month, weeklies and all at once. It alleviates a lot of stress from me and my weekly planning, so I don't have to worry about setting up weeklies for my faith planner each week. So that said, I had pulled out some of the die-cut washi stickers that I had there and was hoping that I had more than I did as far as variety. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to bring those in, but I've put aside some butterfly stickers in case I can fit those in with the theme. I saw them in there, but I didn't check before I started filming, so I didn't know exactly how much I had of each of the stickers, and it was not probably enough, but we'll see what we can do. I've also pulled in some washi tapes, as you can see there. I have one that's like a script, but also somewhat botanical washi, which I think is a nice way to add some texture. And then I have also that gradient watercolor washi that I'm mixing in with just the perfect colors to match up with these florals. Also added in all those quotes, like I said, so you can kind of see how we're building out each week to have similar things in it, but each one look a little different. Just trying to figure out good ways to utilize each of the elements and kind of make these clusters all feel interesting and fun to look at. One thing that I found with this washi tape here, with the butterflies and the script, is that sometimes the direction of the script is vertical and sometimes it's horizontal. It just depends on where you're at in the washi. So I'm trying to figure out how to bring them in for each cluster so that it doesn't look awkward. If it is written vertically, as far as the scripture where the washi tape should be going vertically down the page, I try to match that up with the appropriate cluster that I'm working in so that it makes sense, versus just throwing it in there even if it's sideways on a cluster, because it looks better horizontal, if that makes sense. So I am keeping that in mind, and because of this, I've had to jump ahead a little bit in the washi tape to get to specific clusters of that script washi in a horizontal fashion. So I have some extra pieces there at the top that hopefully I can bring in somewhere on a few of these stickers and get those used up. So some things I'm thinking about as I'm making these clusters, like I said, want to have a little bit of every element in each cluster. So I am trying to position the paper, for example, in different ways on each cluster. So sometimes I want it horizontal, sometimes I want it vertical, sometimes I want it nestled at the bottom, at the top, on either side. So just trying to add variation there. Also with the quotes, those ones are all a little bit different, thankfully, so that I can do, some that are more vertically focused, some that are horizontal, and also maneuver and position those in different ways around the florals I end up pairing with those. And sometimes the florals are fully there, and some of them they're off the edges. So again, just trying to create some variation with that, along with the washi, as I mentioned, and how that's oriented, along with the gradient washi kind of paired up with that. So the washi tapes I am keeping pretty consistent as far as being paired up in each cluster and layering those two together. I'm also trying to do kind of a right angle pairing with whatever the paper orientation is. So if the paper is, nestled up on one of the sides, then I want to have that horizontal washi going across. But if it is on the bottom, then I want to have the vertical washi coming out of it. Those are all the things that I'm thinking about when I'm making these clusters. It just helps create a bit of variation with each design and makes things look a little bit better, not looking too repetitive or looking too much the same. So I've already started laying in the clusters onto the page now that I have them all somewhat laid out. And I'm just going to use my glue stick to stick the paper down to the actual page. Everything else, of course, is sticky backed, so I don't have to worry about anything else. But I did want to make sure that that paper was stuck down pretty well to the page and doesn't peel up. I'm just using a simple glue stick for that and then dropping them in. I'm also choosing which ones I drop in so that I'm varying them. Ones that are horizontal are, on the even spreads, let's say, and the ones that are vertical are on the odd spreads, with this one that was a little bit of an anomaly being on the very center spread between first two and the last two. These are just things I think about. I don't know if you guys notice this kind of stuff or not, but I'm always thinking about this kind of stuff. Balance and symmetry, and I don't know. So it's just second nature to me, and things that I'm always trying to maneuver around in my spreads. So just thought I would voice that. I don't know if that is something of interest to you, but it's things that I do keep in mind as I'm developing my spreads. And I was feeling like this one was feeling a bit empty in this corner, so I'm doing a little bit more maneuvering here, maybe adding in another floral to fill the gap a bit. Did try to add a little extra washi, but I felt like the floral did a better job of filling the space. So we'll go ahead and do that. On to the 4th week here, and again, still varying which orientation I'm pulling in for each week. So no week is the same as the week before it. And this one I'll just bring together piece by piece. It's looking good. One last cluster here to go. And pulling that up as much as I could in one shot. And then we'll get this quote laid in once I glue down the paper piece. And I needed to adjust that once I saw how it laid in. And okay, so we're ready for the monthly. And I'm going to go ahead and lay down some wax paper again because I'm not real sure how this is going to go yet. I have the elements that I think I'm going to use, but how exactly we're going to bring those in is still to be determined. I do write in all of the spaces within the month, so every dated space will have a bunch of text in it by the end of the month. So I need to keep those pretty clear. However, I got the beginning of the month here, these empty boxes, and at the end of the month as well. So I'll try to utilize those as much as possible to add in decor along with the sidebar. So I use my monthly to write in what I call the takeaway. I do a daily Bible reading each day, and then I like to do just a brief application or summary statement of something that I read that day that I can apply to my life or follow up more on. Sometimes I read things and I have interesting questions or things that I feel like are unanswered that I should do some more research on, and this is a good place for me to write those things in. Other times it's just when I find something that I feel like I should apply to my life, in particular something that I feel like can help me grow a bit more each day spiritually. Those things too I will write down. Also to the verses that I read each day, which I will set up with some highlighters. At the end of the video, you'll see me set that up for the month. So as you can see, I'm in the sidebar right now, trying to bring in this slightly different paper, but I feel like that's not working the same as this more vintage ornate paper that I had been using on the weeklies. So I went ahead and went back to that. Also pulled in all of those decorative elements, the quote, the florals, the washi. So we'll see if we can really make that work throughout this spread. I was thinking that I was only going to need one sheet of florals, but definitely have to dip into the second sheet here to help fill out the rest of these spreads. I got a couple of clippings that I'm bringing in. I was going to put those in the empty days, but I just didn't like how that was looking, so I'm going to put them all the way to the top of the page. Something a little bit different since I haven't really been doing that lately in my faith planner, so it'll be nice to have a little bit of variation in that regard. And then I'm balancing things out by relating those florals to each other in a more triangular pattern. That really helps the spread look good. And also sticking with just those 3 clusters versus having a multitude of things kind of overwhelming the spread. Giving those single elements a bit of white space around them makes them a little bit more elegant, I feel like, than just throwing stickers all over the page. So that said, I've got those in there. I've also moved that quote that says God is good into the empty days at the top just to fill that space. I really wasn't liking them layered over the paper. Because it's a rose gold foiled quote, it was a little bit hard to see. So I'm going to put those in the empty days, and I think that will look really nice. So I started laying in some of the elements already into the sidebar, but I need to white out the black lines in these empty days. So we'll get started on that as well at the end of this pen's life, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a fresh pen and finish whiting out these black lines here at the beginning of the month. And I should have taken care of that before I laid down that one sticker, but that's okay. I was able to peel it up enough to get the line fully whited out behind it. And now we'll just start dropping things in. I did move this floral cluster a little bit over to get a bit better balance on the spread here at the top. And then we'll just drop that in along with the leaf, kind of complete that look. And then we'll also drop in this quote. Because I had laid that down on the paper, it did pick up a little bit of the brown from the paper, so I trimmed off what I could. And I realized that there's one more box here on Wednesday at the top. So I'm going to pull in one more quote, just kind of have that go across the spread. I also took the exclamation point off of that amen and put it on the God is good. I think that just helped things fit a little bit better and worked out well. Okay, so now we're on to the overview spread. That's what I call this, my faith overview. This is a customized kind of spread specifically for my faith planning. I have this in my Etsy shop if it's something that you're interested in. You can find that along with the links to pretty much everything that I can find down below in the description. So if you are looking for something in particular, the planner inserts, the stickers, the ephemera, all that stuff, just check the description, and like I said, I'll put links to everything that I have available in there. So I decided to forego the wax paper on this overview setup, and to my chagrin, that floral sticker just laid itself down before I was ready. So I tried to peel it up, but it did not want to come up. So we're just going to work with it. We're going to make it work where it is, and I think it turned out okay. It wasn't exactly where I wanted it, but I made do, and I don't think it is really noticeable in the end. And again, working with those triangular patterns on this spread, I do use the habit trackers and the prayer list on this page, but that's pretty much all I need on the left. And then on the right, I have a big open space where I will letter in a monthly verse. And then I do my currently spiritual check-in, if you will, down below there on the right. So I, of course, plan my decor around the function, and that usually results in these pages being kind of like you're seeing here, where the decor is, again, in a triangular pattern, where I'm using the bottom of the prayer list, the top left for the main decor, and then the middle center right to help balance things out. And this one floral cluster, when I tried to grab it off the sheet, like started picking up part of the sticker sheet, so I had to get that off. Otherwise, it came over okay. And again, I decided that I wanted to move this, but I could not get it off easily without starting to rip the paper, so I went ahead and worked with it, made it work as it laid down. And again, I don't think you can really tell, but I probably would have oriented it a little bit differently had I had used the wax paper. So now we're down to the last page here in the month, which is just a plain notes page, but I've been using these pages, this year, I'm trying to use these pages for something productive. I had a really good suggestion from a couple of followers last month, or for the month of January. I did how God is working in my life, basically, on a weekly basis. So just like a quick summary on seeing God's work in my life. And that actually worked out pretty good. It was fairly low maintenance, which is what I needed since I am very busy. And this faith planner on its own without that really does take up quite a bit of time. So I didn't want to add too much more on my plate. So that was enough. And then I have another suggestion, which I need to go back and look up. Hopefully I made enough room for it in the decor. But I'll be doing something different for February. And you can see how I've been using all these pages. At the end of each month, I do after the pen kind of flip through of all of my monthly spreads. So you can really see how these planner pages are used in action. Okay, so one of the last bits here is just adding a bit more color with the highlighters that I pulled for the month. I'll go ahead and highlight the habit tracker lines here on the overview, and then also add in lines to write in my verses that I've read in my daily Bible reading. I'll use these colors throughout for my lettering as well, which will tie everything together really nicely. I think I'll just alternate the colors here for each of the weeks to make everything look seamless and carry that color throughout. And that's going to do it, friends. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. Also, too, go ahead and leave me a comment if you'd like to get in touch. And think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, if you'd like to see more of my videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Bye.